Welcome to the Ditch the Struggle podcast. I'm your host, Alana Rosso. I'm a graphic designer turned career and success coach who knew I could do better, but kept falling short of where I wanted to go. But after years of exploring personal and career development, business, money mindset, and energy work, I'm here to tell you that yes, you can move from stuck and defeated to empowered and confident. Ready to dive in? Awesome. Together, let's ditch the struggle. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. I'm excited to do this episode today as I have just entered my sloth era, meaning that I am now a full sloth. I just had a PRP, which is a platelet-rich plasma injection in my left knee. And for the next 2 weeks, I can't put any weight on it. I can't really walk on it. I got to use crutches. I'm really meant to be a sloth. And this is a challenge. This is definitely a challenge. I'm a little frustrated. It's been just a couple days. And the things I want to do, I can't. And I have to fully surrender to this and really have Declan do everything for me. Not enjoying it, but on the plus side, there's some really good things happening already, and I'm going to share the experience. Part of me was not going to record anything about this because I don't want to be sitting here stuck in this story of all this pain that I've gone through, but I do want to share what I'm trying because I do think it might help someone. And I'm trying a lot of things, and this was a little bit of a leap for me. I really had been thinking about doing a PRP for almost 5 years, and I finally did it. And I want to share this story because, spoiler alert, it wasn't nearly as stressful, traumatic, or painful as I expected. And that's part of what I want to share is how we build things up in our heads. And then in the end, it's not so bad. So again, I had been thinking about doing this for a while. I had a friend do one in his shoulder. He said it was amazing. And my GP had said anecdotally, she had heard it was really beneficial. She didn't have much to back that up. But some other key practitioners I checked in with, mainly my osteo-homeopath, who usually tells me everything is bad for me. She was on board. And so that was really important to me. So I had done some due diligence. And what I liked about it, I talk more about it in episode 75, if you want to go back to that. But what I liked about it is it basically you take blood they actually take it from your arm and it goes through a centrifuge, and then they put it back into your knee or wherever you need the help to basically create inflammation so that your body starts to almost heal itself. So I was on board with this. I liked the idea of it. I didn't want to have to put crazy pharmaceuticals into my body. But I was worried that, the worst thing that will happen is that it won't work. And it is $1,100 to do it. So you're really rolling the financial dice, this might work, might not. But at the same time, the worst thing that can happen is that it doesn't work. And I could get on board with that. I was like, okay, I can do that. But there was a few things that were also making me nervous in that I had heard it was the most painful experience. So many people had said it was just excruciating pain, the worst pain you can imagine to get this into wherever you're getting it injected. My sports med doctor did say that going into a joint, which I was doing, is less painful than a tendon. So I was like, okay, that's good. But I was a little bit freaked out. I was like, is this going to be awful? Now, I have an okay tolerance for pain. I think it's pretty good. And I'm going to say it. Most women have a higher tolerance for pain than men. It's just it's a fact. So I was like, I think I can handle this. But even my osteo was like, yeah, it's going to be really painful after. I was like, whoa, this is she usually downplays things. I was like, okay. Anyway, so I go in for the procedure a couple days ago. I had to bring Deck with me because you have to have someone drive you home just in case you don't feel so great. So that also was that's making me a little bit nervous. So the process goes like this. You go into the room. She uses an ultrasound to find a vein in your arm. And she takes blood. So it's a decent amount of blood, but it was fine. I've been poked and prodded so many times. I did IV treatments all last fall, so that was way more painful than this. So I got that done. Then you have to wait half an hour where they put it through the centrifuge and do something to it. And then you have to wait until it goes back into you. So we're in the waiting room, the reception of the office, and feeling actually okay. I was generally not very anxious, and I just had this weird feeling that this was the right time for me to do this, and I felt a little bit at peace about it. And I don't know where this was coming from. It just, again, I'd been thinking about this for 5 years, and I finally felt like this was the time to pull the trigger and do it. So as we're sitting there just kind of chit-chatting and waiting, Declan notices that above the receptionist, there is this like lowered ceiling of, it's only decorative, of like vertical wood planks. Like it looks very modern, kind of Scandinavian look to it. The clinic had just been built like 6 months ago. It used to be a restaurant. And he's looking at how this thing is built, and he can see the cables attaching it. And he's like, yeah, that's not good. I said, what? And he's like, you see how there's like basically one cable holding the weight of the entire thing? So Deck used to be in construction, a construction manager, site supervisor, and the company he worked for, he left it about 6 months ago, did really high-end construction custom installations. Like he did stuff for LinkedIn, Google, Yves Saint Laurent in Miami. He's traveled all over the States to do installations for like Audi, really high level stuff where everything had to be more than perfect. And he's looking at this ceiling and he's like, that's not good. And there's these two cute young girls sitting under it. And I was like, well, you have to tell them. And he's like, yeah, no, I'm not going to tell them. And here's like the difference between him and me. I'd be like up there in 6 milliseconds telling them how they have to get this looked at. And he's like, no, it's, he just brushed it off, and he was just kind of too embarrassed to maybe bring it up. So it's not like I'm this crazy extrovert, but when the time is there, I'm going to say something. So I was like, yeah, I'm getting up there. So again, this is the difference between me and him. I just got up there and I was like, Rachel, the girl, she was so sweet. She's the one that fitted me for the knee brace that I have to wear now after this thing. And I said, yeah, this construction situation above your head has to shift. And then Declan chimed in and started explaining to them what was going on. And they were so happy to know this because they knew that the place was done really quickly, or like the aesthetics, like all the kind of cosmetic construction stuff wasn't done very well. So she was thrilled to have this information. And even though they were like kind of a bit freaked out that this thing was going to fall on their heads, it wasn't that bad. But definitely, as Declan would say, it was made by some cowboys. My dad also used to say something similar to that. So he was in construction. And so that was kind of funny while we're waiting. The other thing that was really interesting that happened while we were waiting is that a woman comes in for her physio, and I look at her leg, and the front of her shin has 2 tattoos, huge tattoos, and they were of 2 dachshunds. So for those of you who don't follow my Instagram, I'm obsessed with dachshunds. We've always had dachshunds. Those are those wiener dogs. And she walks in and she's got 2 massive illustration tattoos of dachshunds on her shin. And I couldn't stop staring. And within, again, 6 milliseconds of her sitting down, I was like, are those dachshunds on your leg? And she's like, oh yeah, these are my 2 that have, crossed over. I've got 3 more at home. So we had this whole conversation because, of course, I'm obsessed with dachshunds. And I loved seeing this so much because for some reason, when I see dachshunds, it makes me happy. It also feels like this little nudge from the universe that everything's going to be okay. When I'm really stressed and I just want to know that things are going to work out, I end up seeing a dachshund somewhere. It's like this funny little thing. It's a specific symbol. Everyone has I think most people have a symbol of maybe when things are like they need a sign from the universe. So this is one of my signs. So this woman literally walks in with, I've never seen anyone have 2 massive dachshunds on the front of their leg. So we had a great conversation, and then it turns out that Rachel, the cute girl at the front desk, her sister just got a dachshund. So then we start having all these amazing stories about dachshunds, how great they are, how stubborn they are, how difficult they are to train, which is all true. I am that crazy dachshund lady. I once had a friend, she couldn't find my house. She couldn't remember what number I lived on my street. And she's driving along the street, and then she sees on the front porch like a dachshund statue. She's like, oh, that's where Alana lives. Like, not hard to figure it out. I was like, yeah, that's me. We had workers in our house a few weeks ago, and he's like, yeah, we got a theme going on in this house. And I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, you really have your dog everywhere. I was like, well, Dolly's just like, okay, I have a 16 by 20 photo of her in the front hall, and of my other dog that crossed over in 2015. but like, she's not everywhere. And my friend who was there, Nicole, she's like, Alana, I think it's like not just Dolly specifically, but just dachshunds. They're kind of everywhere. They're kind of everywhere. And I start looking around my house. I was like, oh my God, I'm fully crazy. Like, we are fully crazy. Like, yeah, we are that person. So it's always a good sign when I see one. So we're having a good experience in the waiting room. It was just it was a nice little half an hour that I had to wait. And so what happens is I go back into the room and she uses an ultrasound to find a space in my knee. So again, I'm expecting this is going to be the most painful thing of my entire life. Like, I'm bracing myself. I already decided I'm not going to look at the needle or anything like that. So don't worry, there won't be any gory details because I literally didn't see anything. Then says that shows me where she's going to inject the needle. And again, I'm completely relieved already because I thought she was going to have to go into the place where the main pain is, which is like the inner knee, which is like bony and awful. She's like, no, we're going at the top of the knee towards the outer part where you actually have some like meat there. And I was like, oh, okay. So already I'm feeling relieved. So what she does, she puts the needle in, she tells you she's doing it, and she's like, okay, now I'm going to put the blood into you. It was maybe 20 seconds of pain. Like, it was not comfortable, but was it the most painful thing of my entire life? Absolutely not even close. And then she was done. I said to her, are you done? And she's like, yeah, that's it. And she stuck a Band-Aid on it. I have like the tiniest little bruise. It's like, are you kidding me? She's like, no, that's it. I was like, that's it. And I was, of course, thrilled, relieved, happy. And then I just kind of slowly got up and she's like, are you lightheaded? And I said, no. I mean, it feels like you feel like a little weird because you just, it's more the shock of knowing that something just went into you or a huge needle. But I felt totally fine. Stuck my knee brace on. I had to bring my crutches with me, which I had from in 2015. I did an epic ankle sprain on my left ankle as well. So my left side really has gone through a lot. At SkyZone. You remember SkyZone? SkyZone still exists. So I used to love taking their aerobic classes on the trampoline. Like, they were adult trampoline aerobics classes. I used to do them twice a week. I was obsessed. Then one day I thought I was like Superwoman. I was doing this move where you bounce off the wall and onto the trampoline. And I rolled my ankle in a really epic way. I immediately knew that I had done something really bad to my ankle. And the funniest part of this story is that, believe it or not, SkyZone doesn't like keep a wheelchair on hand. You would think with probably billions of people injuring themselves there every year that they would have, one wheelchair. They didn't. So I was placed onto a office chair and wheeled out the back door through like the loading dock. This is not a joke. And basically like dumped into the street where my friend had her SUV waiting for me. And she just basically like shoved me into the back of her SUV and got me home. And then proceeded to tell me that this was really stupid to be doing these classes because she works in designing theme parks and water parks and amusement parks. And she says, this is like the most dangerous activity that you could possibly do. And I was like, yeah, I'm getting that now. And it took me 15 months to heal from that. It was such a painful injury to recover from because our ankles don't have a lot of blood flow and all this stuff that you kind of need to heal. So anyway, I had crutches from that and brought them with me. And so then I, walked out of there, on my crutches, hobbled out of there. Declan took me home. And while I was driving home, because we had about an hour drive, it was definitely hurting, but kind of like you had just rammed your knee into like a doorknob or a door frame and it hurt, but it was a dull aching pain. It wasn't any kind of crazy knife pain that I was used to already from my the knee injury, like where I had the problem. So kind of since then, I've been okay and actually shocked. Almost no pain. Like if you know how they rate it on at a scale of 1 to 10, my pain's been sitting at like 1 out of 10. Like I can barely feel it. And even where I normally have knee pain has gone down. Like I feel like it's less. Now, I'm not really moving and doing much and putting much weight on it, so it's hard to say. But overall, I'm feeling great. I'm sleeping, which I was so worried if the pain was just worse, then I wouldn't really get sleep. I wouldn't be able to get stuff done. And that's what also they say in the literature you come home with. It's normal for your pain to actually go up for 2 weeks, that you're like in worse pain from this procedure. So I was also mentally prepared for that. I was like, oh my God, like it's one thing that I'll be hobbling around, another thing that I'll be really hurting. So I'm not. I'm fully great and optimistic that this is going to take. It can take up to 3 months to really start to feel the benefit. I'm hoping it's going to be earlier because I feel like I'm reacting well to it or it's taking well already. So that's just my feeling. So that's my experience. So this can work on anyone that has, joint injuries and tendon injuries. And if you've tried a whole bunch of different things, this can be a viable option. As I said, it is a big financial investment in that it's, where I went, it was $1,100. It's not covered under any plan. This is not considered any kind of critical treatment or, a mandatory treatment, or it's just not. So it's coming out of pocket, which definitely sucks. But I will tell you that I was at the point where I didn't care about how much it was going to cost. At this point, I was willing to make sacrifices in other areas of my life. Health and my dog are where most of my money goes. Don't care about much else right now. So I was good with that. And yeah, we're going to see where this leads and see where this goes. And hopefully it's helpful. But I do encourage you to look up a PRP injection if this is something that you're struggling with, if you're having some chronic pain and nothing seems to be working, especially if like a cortisone injection didn't do much for you. I had tried those. I don't tolerate cortisone. I had also once done something called a Durolane injection. That helped me for about a month and then it just wore off. And that was supposed to help for like 1 to 2 years. So I wasn't making any headway. I had to just try something totally different and take a bit of a gamble. But again, you can't react badly to it really because primarily it's using your own blood, which I just think is pretty cool. And this is when modern medicine gets me excited. So we'll see where this goes. And look out for your good signs when you're doing something stressful, because I do feel that we are being guided when we are in those potentially anxiety-inducing and stressful situations. And I definitely feel like I was that day. Take care, guys. Thank you for joining me today on Ditch the Struggle. You showing up here means so, so much to me. To dig deeper into the topics discussed today and to learn about my work, visit alanarosa.com. And don't forget to download your free resources while you're there. And if this episode resonated with you, please share with others who also want to ditch the struggle. Go ahead and subscribe to the podcast, leave a rating and a review, and let me know what you'd like to see more of on this podcast. And before I go, I want to leave you with my 3 favorite ways to ditch the struggle. Be your own best advocate, take baby steps for the win, and forget about a linear career path. It's overrated and you are doing just fine. See you next time.